So, mammals don't bounce. Yep. This is the result, amongst some other injuries, of a crash at around the pot 4 weeks ago out in Swellendam. A momentary lapse of judgment. Saw my front wheel slip out in a puddle of mud, and I went ass over kettle and landed with a huge thud on my left rotator cuff. Thankfully, this whole structure of clavicle and scapula didn't shatter and do the typical cyclist injury. It didn't dislocate, it stayed in place. Bruised the muscles and sort of micro tears of some of the tendons, still pretty sore. Cracked a couple of ribs, and I think this took the gear lever on the way over, or the brake lever on the way over, and 2 metacarpal fractures, the first and the third. The first is what they tell me is an avulsion fracture, which is where the ligament pulls the bone apart a little bit. No surgery, and a splint. If you can put down a few £1,000 in South Africa, you get first-rate healthcare. This is some kind of thermoplastic device, this splint, where they put it in boiling water and it becomes malleable, and then they mold it onto the shape of your arm, and you can take it off when showering, and sort of gets rid of change the sock underneath, so you don't have the smell and itch and hygiene crisis of a cast. And if one has to break bones, it's a more comfortable way of healing them. So I had to wait, phoned the emergency number after the crash. Well, first off, sort of you go over, there's those moments where you're lying there with grit in your mouth, you're not breathing because you're winded, and just sort of thinking, well, how bad is it? And you think, oh, not too bad, because you don't feel anything, your whole body's numb. And my mate stopped, called the emergency number on the little bracelets that they gave us at around the pot. They then all continued on their race, and I waited about an hour and a bit in the cold for literally a farmer's son, huge 6'10" guy, who said, "Moenie worry nie oom, ek is hier vir oom," and he looked after me nicely, took me back to the showgrounds, but I had to leave my bike behind, and I don't have to tell you how anxious that can make a person, but you just got to trust. And back at the showgrounds in Swellendam, which was the start venue of the race, there were 2 well-intentioned but not particularly capable paramedics who did an initial assessment. I think they were just making sure that there were no ribs in the chest cavity, which of course would be bad. Then they left me standing in this open tent, or under this open tent. It's about 9 degrees, pouring with rain, no shirt, ribs around my waist. I said to them, "You have to keep me warm." So they gave me a space blanket, and after 45 minutes, some debate as to what to do with me. The nearest open x-ray was apparently 120 k's away in Worcester. Didn't feel like that. So eventually I said to them, "Well, one of you please drive my car back to the guest house, and the other one put me in the ambulance and take me back to the guest house," where I hobbled into my room and very slowly and painfully changed out of my wet kit, showered, put my kit on, basically with the plan, put fresh clothing on, basically with the plan of seeing if I could get in my car and going and finding my bike back at the showgrounds, and then potentially driving back to Cape Town and getting medical care there, which is what I eventually did. Much patient self-management later, and the next day I went and got x-rays. 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks of this physio for the rib cage and the shoulder, making a big difference. Couldn't move it 4 weeks ago. Now it's very, well, much looser. These rotator cuff things take a long time to heal though. Phew, I'm unfit. The day before the 361, my intervals to ICU had my fitness score, that rolling 7-day average of your TSS scores, at 91. A couple of days ago it was 92. It was 41, exactly half. And I can feel it. I'll get that fitness back in no time. Well, sometime. 2 more weeks and then an X-ray to see if I can take this clever device off. Yeah, practice for old age. 1 minute you're doing 300 watts in the countryside looking at a rainbow, and the next it's taking 15 minutes to get to the bathroom where you have to figure out a pain-free way of wiping your backside. Mountain biking giveth, and mountain biking taketh away. But only temporarily. I'm definitely looking forward to being fit and strong again. It's sort of practice for old age, being incapacitated like that. An inconvenient injury to manage because right arm compromised, and earlier on left arm was pretty useless. So no levers to lift the body up and a sore rib cage. Not easy. But sort of, we know that if you age, if you're fortunate or unfortunate enough to live to the point where your body starts failing, you have to get used to that. It's practice. And the other thing is that all the time that not training frees up. I'm used to doing 10, 11, 14 hours a week on the bike, and suddenly all that time is there. So I've read more in the last 4 weeks than I have in the preceding 6 months. You start having all sorts of ideas about what else you could do. Writing. I've had a few video ideas. I plan to do a crib of one of Phil Guyman's com videos. The Cookie Monster. Yes, I have a com. Well, sort of. But I'll tell that story in another video. Oh, so 6 weeks. Disappointment that I had to miss the Transpo of Yarns, the repeat version of which was done yesterday. The race looked nightmarish, cold and wet and evacuation, but those same mates I was riding with at Swellendam, they did the Transpo of Yarns and I was to do it with them. So I'm sorry to have missed out on that. The mountain bike goats. I'll get back there. Maybe one of my 13 subscribers will comment on this video. And maybe I'll get another subscriber. So in the interest of that, push the subscribe button somewhere down below. And I'm supposed to tell you, according to all the other YouTubers, that you should like it and hit the notification bell. Whatever the hell, I never hit the notification bell. I'm just saying, who wants to be notified every time some muppet thinks that you ought to look at something? Me? I just like playing with the tech. Bye.